How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Lamed Tes, Daf 39 of Masechta Sotah. Okay. Fine. Seder. Okay. Missed my chance. I'll do it another time. Sorry. It was a joke I wanted to make. I forgot to make it. Well, I'll have to do it another time, alright. Fine. It was like an opening joke, you know. You only get one chance to get an opener. Alright, we're going weiter on Birkas Kohanim. Interesting sugya. We're going to get into some of the details about the Birkas Kohanim, like the order of things. Pretty interesting stuff in my opinion. Again, if you are a priest and you have actual experience, doing Birkas Kohanim, and there's anything you want to add to this discussion, because I don't know very much about it. I'm not a priest, and I just kind of know from learning, but that's a more lame way of knowing than by doing. So if you have anything that you want to add, that would be gewaldig. Okay. We're going to start on Daf Lamed Ches Amud Beis, about 4-5 lines from the bottom. Gufa, we said earlier, Tano Ababrei Dov Minyamin Bar Chia, that Ababrei Dov Minyamin Bar Chia taught, Am Shachorei Kohanim Einam Bichla Babylon. Excuse me. Am Shachorei Kohanim Einam Bichla Broche. So anybody who's standing behind the Kohanim are not included in the blessing. You want to get in front of the Kohanim. Pshita. Okay, so now says the Gemara. Pshita ariche bape gutze lo mafseke. Okay, so certainly if you have the Kohanim standing at the front of the synagogue and they're facing the crowd and they're blessing away, and you have a little guy in the crowd and in front of him is somebody very tall. So I mean, in a certain sense, like the tall guy is like cutting off the bracha from reaching the short guy. In that kind of a sense. So the Gemara says, look, Pshita, obviously, ariche bape gutze lo mafseke. Okay, certainly, a shorter person standing behind a taller person, there's no problem with that. Teva lo mafseka. And if the Kohanim are standing behind the ark, apparently the architecture of the synagogues at that point in time, I guess, was that there could be a space between the back wall and the ark, and I guess the Kohanim would stand behind that and bless. So the ark would not be a hefsek, would not make a separation. Mechitzomai. What about a wall? What if there's a wall separating the priests and the people? Toshma, come here. The Omer B'Shur Ben Levi says, B'Shur Ben Levi, afilu mechitze shel barzel eina mafsekes ben Yisrael avim shabashomayim. Woo! Wow, that one gets you deep. That even a wall of iron, barzel, iron, even a wall of iron does not separate between a yid and his father in heaven. What about the sides? So we said that you have to be facing the Kohanim. You don't want to be behind the Kohanim. What about on the sides of the Kohanim? Omer Abba Mar bar Rav Ashi Toshma. Come here. Ditnan. We learned in the Mishnah. Niskaven lahazos lefonav. If a fellow was sprinkling the Efer Para Aduma, the ashes of the Para Aduma that were mixed in the water, Viza la'achorav. So niskaven la'azos lefonav viza la'achorav. So if he intended to sprinkle in front of him, but some drops got behind him, la'achorav viza lefonav, or if he intended to sprinkle behind him, but some of it got, but some of the mechatas got in front of him, has also psula, that doesn't count. Right? You have to have kavana. Right? Only what you intended to sprinkle counts. Lefonav vihiza al stodin shebifonav has also ksher. But if he intends to sprinkle in front of him, and the mechatas goes to his sides, but in front of him. I don't really know how to explain this. It's not complicated. I feel like it's just hard to put it into words, but like, okay, like there's the sides of you, but there's the sides of you that's in, okay, how about this? During Birkas Kohanim, you should be standing in front of the, facing the Kohanim. You should not be behind the Kohanim. But there's in front, and then there's behind, and then there's the sides. But I don't even really know how to explain this, but I'm just assuming that you guys understand what it means, but it's nonetheless hard to explain. So like the sides, you could be the sides in front of you, or the sides behind you. So if you're on the sides but in front of the Kohanim, so then that's fine. But if you're on the sides but behind the Kohanim, then that's not fine. I guess maybe you could simplify it by saying the point is you have to be in front of the Kohanim. Now, the front doesn't mean directly in front. It just means if you draw like a straight line across the room, from in front of them, separating in front, make like a binary thing. You just draw a straight line across the whole room. If you are in front of this line, you are considered in front of the Kohanim. If you're behind this line, you are considered behind the Kohanim. I don't care if you're directly in front, directly behind, off to the sides, it doesn't matter. If you're in front of this line, which is in front of the Kohanim, does that make any sense? Friends, what do you want me to say? I don't know how to explain the sides but in front. I'm just assuming that you get it. I don't even know how you explain the sides but in front. It means the peripheral view. Yeah, I guess that's what it means, the peripheral. The peripheral view, yeah, okay, that works. And the peripheral view, as long as you're in the peripheral view. Alright. Once the Sefer Torah is opened up, also the saper, it's forbidden to speak. I feel with halacha, even in halachas, if the Sefer Torah is open, don't speak. Shenemar, the pasuk says, Uchpischo. Now, I know it says in the pasuk Uchpischo. The reason why I'm changing it to Uchpischo is because that's what the pasuk says. Uchpischo amdu kol ha'am, that when the Sefer Torah was opened up, so the people stood up. Ve'en amida ela shtika. When it says amida, it means shtika, to keep quiet. Shenemar v'ochalti, and I waited k'lo yidaberu, because they weren't speaking. Ki amdu lo anu od, that they stopped and they didn't answer anymore. So we see that standing is associated with shutting your trap. Reb Zera Amar Rav Chizda Me'acha, says Reb Zera in the name of Chizda from here, ve'oznei kol ha'am el Sefer HaTorah. That right, it says that the ears of all the people were to the Sefer Torah and to nothing else. Both of those, right, the first pasuk and this pasuk that we just read now about the Sefer Torah are in the context of Ezra, when he gathered all the people and was reading the Sefer Torah. So it says he opened up the Sefer Torah, or really before it, and it says that and all the people were listening intently to the Sefer Torah, and when it was open, fine. Shalom Talmidav es Rabbi Elazar ben Shamua. Rabbi Elazar ben Shamua, the Amora, the I guess student of Rabbi Yochanan. I guess I don't think he was a contemporary of Rabbi Yochanan. I think he was a student of Rabbi Yochanan. But I think that after Rish Lakish died, I think he even became Rabbi Yochanan's chavrusa. Rabbi Elazar the Amora. Shalom Talmidav es Rabbi Elazar ben Shamua. Bome arachta yom. How did you merit to live such a long life? And he said to them, well, I never used a synagogue as a shortcut, right? If I had to, even if it meant that I had to go around the longer route, I would not cut through a synagogue as a shortcut. Posaiti al Roshi Am Kodesh. And what this means is that, well, literally what it means is I never stood on the heads of the holy nation. What does it mean to stand on the heads? It means that when you would walk into the study hall, so all the students would be sitting. And if all the students were sitting and he would be like walking between them to get to his place, which is at the front, so then it would be as if he's like stepping on everybody's head. So you would always make sure to either get there first or, I guess, stay outside. And Rabbi Elazar ben Shmuel was a kohen, and he never did the Birkas Kohanim, he never duchined without making a bracha first. What is the bracha? Reb Zera, Reb Chizde, Asher Kidshanu B'Kedushaso Shel Aharon, that you have made us holy with the holiness of Aaron, V'tzivanu Levarech Esamu Yisrael Be'ahava, and you have commanded us to bless the people of the nation of Israel with love. I was in a groove recently with the Chabad Shaliach, and I told him I was learning the sugya of Birkas Kohanim, of duchening, and he told me that duchening is the only mitzvah that you have to do with love. As we see, right? That the mitzvah requires love. Ki okar kare mai omer. Now, when he is on his way to go to where he's going to bless the people, right? We said that by the time that that during Ritzeh he has to move his feet to start walking towards the duchen to do the Birkas Kohanim. So what's he saying on his way? He rotzen milfanecha Hashem Elkeinu, may be the will before you, Hashem our God, shetei brachas o shetzivisanu levarich, that this blessing that you have commanded us to bless, as Amcha Yisrael, your nation Israel, lo yeheba michshol, there shouldn't be any sort of failure in it, ve'avon, or sin, v'chimahadar api mitzibura, and then after the bracha concludes, and he's turning, and the Chazan starts Sim Shalom, as we're going to see soon, and he turns back around to face the Aron Kodesh. So then, what does he say? My Omer, what does he say? Adbe Rav Chizda le Rav Ukva. So Rav Chizda said to Rav Ukva. Now Rav Chizda was a Kohen. Was Rav Ukva a Kohen? I don't know. But Rav Chizda was a Kohen. V'darish, and he said, Ribono shel olam, Master of the world, Asinu ma shegazalta aleinu. We have done what you decreed upon us to do. Aseh imanu, do with us. Ma shivtachtonu, that which you promised us. Hashkifim imon kodshcha min hashamayim v'gomer. Right? It says uvarich es amcha Yisrael. That look, we did what you asked of us. We blessed the Bnei Yisrael. Please make it come true. Omer Rav Chizda. Now says Rav Chizda. Now, as I mentioned a minute ago, Rav Chizda was taka koyin. So a lot of these halachas that we're saying now come from Rav Chizda. Omer Rav Chizda. Ein hakoyanim hashoyim lochuv kitzrei etzba usein ad shiachzu pnei min hatzibur. That the kohanim, after, right, so the kohanim, when they are blessing the people, they extend their, I mean, this doesn't say this anywhere in the Gemara, but I'm just, if I'm not mistaken, right, they like hold their hands in like a special kind of hand holding. So they have to hold their hands in that position. And they can't sort of release their hand position back to go back at ease until they turn away from the tzibur, and that only happens, as we're going to see soon, when the Chazan starts Sim Shalom. When the Chazan starts saying Sim Shalom, the Kohanim turn back around, and when they turn back around, at that point they can sort of put their hands at ease. Rav Zera, Rav Chizde, Eina Koirei Rasha Likres Kehanim Ad Shichlo Omein Mipi Atzibur. That when they call out and they say Kohanim, and at that point the Kohanim start saying the bracha that we just said, so that person who calls out Kohanim is not allowed to call out Kohanim until after the congregation has concluded saying Amen after Atov Shimcha L'Chanoy L'Hodos. They say Amen, and then you say Kohanim. And the Kohanim cannot say the blessing, cannot start saying the blessing until after they hear Kohanim. Once they hear Kohanim, at that point they could say the bracha. And then the congregation cannot say Amen to the bracha of the Kohanim until they finish, right? Only at that point can they say Amen. Wait, did I just skip? Dibur mipi akore. I think this is what we're up to. And the Kohanim are not permitted to start doing the Birkas Kohanim until the congregation finishes saying Amen after their bracha. Right? And after Birkas Kohanim, when they're done, right? So then they're done. They have to wait, they have to continue facing the tzibur with their hands extended until the Chazan starts saying Sim Shalom. At that point, they can turn around and they can put their hands down, they can turn around and face the ark. And they can't leave the ark and go back to their seats until the Shliach Tzibur is done with Sim Shalom. At that point, when he's done with Sim Shalom, they can go back to the seats. This is now talking about Birchas HaTorah, right? So they take out the Torah and they, right? So yesterday, so the other day, on Friday, I was walking outside, minding my own business, and I bump into somebody I know, and he says, it's Ashkocha Pratis. We need somebody to lane tomorrow at Mincha. Maybe Ashkocha Pratis for you. Alright, anyway, it's fine. So I said, sure, I figured I'd be a good sport. So I read from the Torah at Mincha, but because I read from the Torah at Mincha yesterday, so now I have a first-hand account. So Einat Tzibur, so what do we say? So Einat Tzibur Asher Nanus Omen Achitich LeBrachim Piakori. So I think that this assumes that the person reading that the person who sort of gets the aliyah, right? He's reading from the Torah, right? So the point is that the person who gets the aliyah makes the bracha on the Torah, right? So once he finishes that bracha, only at that point can the congregation say Amen. And the fellow reading from the Torah, yesterday that was me, so he can only begin to read after the people say Amen. And the translator, right, because back in the day, I think maybe some Taimani synagogues maybe do it till this day, but anyways, definitely back in the day, in the time of the Gemara, so they would read a verse from the Torah, and then they would translate it, I guess, into Aramaic. So that translation can only happen once the verse has been read by the reader. And then the reader can only move on to the next pasuk to read the next verse once the translation is complete from the translator. This is a gewaltige halachas, that the person who gets the haftarah, the person who gets maftir, so of course he gets, he reads from the Torah as well. So you get maftir, you read from the Torah, and then you read from the Navi. And he can only start reading from the Navi, can only start the Haftorah once the Sefer Torah has been wrapped up, right? Glila has been right, the cover has been put on it. So this is interesting. So Rashi explains that they used to keep the Sefer Torah in a separate house, right? They wouldn't just keep the Sefer Torah in the synagogue because it wasn't considered safe. So they would keep the Sefer Torah in a house nearby. So that means that when it came time for Kriyas Torah, they had to retrieve it from the house and then bring it back to the house. So, and when they would bring it from the house into the synagogue, and they would put it, on the bima, so they would then take like cloths and things, and they would wrap the bima with it so that it was mechubad, that it was very nice for the Sefer Torah. So what the Gemara is saying is that when they brought the Torah back to that house and they're taking it out of the synagogue, so ein sheich tzibur Rashi lahavshe desateva b'tzibur. The I guess like shamis, whoever's bringing back the Sefer Torah should not keep the people waiting while he's taking down these decorative cloths from the bima. Rather, take the Torah back to the house, and you can go back later and take off the cloths. Mipnei kvod tzibur, out of consideration for the congregation, that they shouldn't have to wait for him. Now skip the next two words, and the reason why I'm skipping them is because it goes with Zion and points out that the Rosh and the Rif and Rashi don't have it, and I think it's easier to just, I don't really understand how to explain it necessarily with it, so I'm going to jump on that bandwagon and keep them out. So the congregation is only permitted to leave the synagogue once the Torah has been taken. Shmuel says until it actually leaves the synagogue. So according to Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, once they pick up the Sefer Torah, even though it hasn't left the building yet, hasn't left the synagogue yet, once they pick it up to take it out of the synagogue, people can already start leaving. But Shmuel says that that the people can only leave once the Sefer Torah has left. V'lo pligi, and it's no machlokas. Hadika pischa achrina, hadika pischa achrina. It just depends if there's another exit. If there are two exits, so then once, that's like Rabbi Shimon Levi, that once they pick up the Sefer Torah to take it out of one of the exits, then people can already start leaving, I imagine, the other exit, even though the Sefer Torah is still there. But if there's only one exit, which means that the Sefer Torah is going to have to leave that exit, so the Sefer Torah should be the first to leave. Rabba Bar Ahina Asberli, Rava says that Bar Ahina explained to him, that it's from the verse of that after God, Hashem your God, you shall walk, i.e. let the Sefer Torah go first. Friends, we're going to end it here because this then begins a whole arichus that goes into tomorrow's daf, a good chunk. So we're going to stop here. Friends, some very, very interesting stuff on today's daf about where to stand during Birkas Kohanim, right? In the peripheral vision of the Kohanim, and we talked about certain halachos about Sefer Torah, that you shouldn't talk when the Sefer Torah is open, and that the seder of the brachas that you only start reading after everybody says Amen and all that kind of stuff. We learned about the brachas of the duchening, right? And sort of the order of things and when the Kohanim do what. Very, very interesting stuff. Friends, that was Daf Lamed Tes of Masechta Sotah. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.